Morning, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel. And today I thought, since it's New Year's Day, I would do a quick review of the year, and that means we'll just take a quick walk around the plots and see what we learned this year, what went right, what went wrong, and yeah, let's get on. We'll start with Jenny's plot. So we got Jenny's plot in April, which was a bit late because it needed a lot of work doing to it, so we didn't really get started until May. We've done a lot of work on Jenny's plot to lower the workload and yeah, just generally improve it. So here's the overview, and pretty much everything on Jenny's plot has changed apart from the rough layout. So we planted lots of berries here, we planted lots more trees, planted a Braben there, kind of rescued that apple tree that was falling over. We planted, I can't remember which one this is, a Victoria plum here, a Concord pear there, rescued another tree that was falling over there and another tree there, so lots of trees. We've created a composting area in that corner, which was previously just a mound of rubble, and we've raised the beds. So it's not strictly put raised beds in, but we've put retaining boards in here, and that is allowing us to gradually raise the beds. And you can see we've done a reasonable job on weed control by putting a decent compost layer on top of the beds. We started off with spent mushroom compost, and now we're just using garden compost, although we might put a bit of spent mushroom compost down on the brassica bed next year. So we've done a reasonable job. I'm pretty happy with the way this with this plot is going. So what did we learn? Well, we learned not to use spent mushroom compost for potatoes, because we got a bit of scab on some of the potatoes as a result of doing that. We learnt that spent mushroom compost works fantastic for the brassicas, so we'll definitely be considering that again. We learnt that red things don't get as many pests, anywhere near as many pests as well, it's starting to rain, lovely. Anywhere near as many pests as green things. So for example, these courgettes have given us fantastic crop of leaves, and obviously the courgettes themselves, with almost no problems from whitefly or caterpillars. I'm just going to have to pause because it's really chucking it. Okay, and I'm back. So what else did we learn? What did we plant too much of? We planted too many beans. We had a runner bean frame here, we had one here, and we had one down there, and we also had them on my plot and Debbie's plot. We had too many. We just could not keep up with the rate of harvest. We filled the freezer, we filled all of our friends' freezers, and in them we just had to leave the beans to dry. And so I spent a happy 4 hours probably podding beans, and I'm not even sure we'll get through all those dried beans over winter. So that was a bit of a blow. We didn't anything else we planted too much of? I don't think so. We didn't plant anywhere near enough brassicas in summer, so as a result you can see we've got loads of empty ground, and we could have been enjoying much more abundant brassica crops. Now that's not so much of a problem for us because there's enough here for us, but we had to stop our friends and family harvests in November time. We did do a Christmas one, but yeah, we could have kept on delivering to friends and family all the way through the winter, plentiful crops of brassicas, so that was a bit of a shame. We didn't probably plant anywhere near enough garlic, and so this year we have tried to probably triple our garlic crop. Maybe still not planted enough, certainly not enough to keep friends and family in garlic for the whole of the year, but enough for us this year. So we're just experimenting to see how we do with garlic. Again, that's something we could plant more of next year, and and then in the garlic bed we could put brassicas later on in the season. So we're learning a lot, given this is only our really first full year of gardening. We're learning a lot about what we should plant and what the follow-on crop should be and how to maximise the yields basically. But next year I definitely don't want to see all this landscape fabric on the plots. So that, I think, is a good summary of how Jenny's plot went. We put, finally one thing we learnt was grass paths are an absolute pain. They take forever. You're always cutting the blooming things, weeding them, the grass is always encroaching into the beds, and then the crops fall over the grass paths, and then the paths degrade in quality really badly. So they need reseeding in order to get them back to life again. Just terrible. We just had such a lot of problems with the grass paths, so hence we've now got bark paths like we've got on all the other pots. So yeah, a really significant improvement. Yep, so we'll move on because I think that's enough of Jenny's plot. So now I'm walking to Debbie's plot, and I thought I'd just show you around the site a little bit as I do it, and I'll just talk a little bit about the allotment finances. So things have gone pretty well. We ended up with a £400 surplus when you subtract the amount of money we spent and the amount of value we took off the allotment. And we cropped about 1,500 2-litre containers, and we were pretty much fully self-sufficient in veg, self-sufficient in fruit in the summer, and we gave a huge amount of our surplus away to friends and family. We don't look to make money on the plot. Any surplus we don't sell, we just give it away because this is our hobby. But we do like to keep track roughly of how much value we extract from the allotment, because it just makes it more fun. We had spent a huge amount of money on hard landscaping and landscape fabric and compost and all the tools, hedge trimmers and drills and strimmers and all of that sort of thing, because this is only our second year on the allotments, and we got 2 new allotments this year, so lots of money spent. So we're really happy though to be in surplus, and that £400 surplus that we got this year should easily cover all of our costs next year. We will still spend some money on seeds, we'll still spend some money on a bit of mushroom compost probably, and we just our potting compost seems to cost us a lot of money as well, but we should easily cover our costs with the £400 surplus that we've got, which should mean that we'll have a surplus this year of about £4,000, which is pretty good, and that will probably cover our total food cost for the year, so that'll be really nice. And we should have a much bigger surplus to give away this year as well, so friends and family should be pretty self-sufficient in veg for the whole year as well, and so that'll be really nice. So we've now arrived by a roundabout route at Debbie's plot, and we got this plot in March, but it took until about June to get it productive because it was in such a mess. It had been a long time ago, it had been used for to store a boat, and so lots of rubble had been put down as a kind of foundation for that. And then in the growing areas, a lot of those growing areas have been covered with landscape fabric and carpet in a vain attempt to keep the weeds down, but over time the weeds had just grown through all that landscape fabric and carpet and just completely colonised it, which meant it was impossible to pull up, It's had to be cut up into strips with a saw and then ripped out of the ground. It just took forever. And Debbie did most of that work on her own, which is absolutely incredible. And then she designed the whole plot, and I helped out just a little bit with the hard landscaping, and borrowed in some wood chips that we got for free. And it's just turned out beautifully. It looks pretty good now, but in the spring and summer it's just fabulous. Debbie gardens in the ornamental kitchen garden style, which means it's both productive and beautiful at the same time. Debs has created an orchard area here with plums and pears and apples and all sorts of different berries as well. Right across the back wall we've also got 3 different fruit trees. We've got 2 pears and a plum, I think, and then we've got lots and lots of currants in the centre, rhubarb and brassicas in lots of these beds as well. And what did we learn? Well, we learnt that some things have to be planted a little bit earlier than we planted them. So we did have some borlotti beans in that little bed that runs along the side there. They didn't go in quite early enough because the bed didn't exist to plant them in. We learnt that cauliflowers don't go very well in an ornamental kitchen garden, so we won't be planting those. But other than that, everything else worked really well. We're just really looking forward to this spring and summer and autumn. It's going to be fabulous. As I say, we only got this in June, so there's a lot of the season that we missed, but it worked out pretty well. Apologies if this camera is shaking a little bit, but my hands are pretty cold. Anyway, let's turn around and head back to So my plot was a bit neglected this year because just doing so much work on Debbie and Jenny's plot, but it was still pretty productive. I did have way too much bare earth at certain times of the year, and unbelievably I kind of almost ran out of lettuces. We grow a lot of lettuces on my plot in August, so we had to correct that. Let's look at mine. So here we are on my plot, and this is the composting area. I've taken about 5 cubic metres of compost, I think, out of here, and I've got about 5 cubic metres in the compost bins at the moment. And you can see there's a lot of stuff under cover. I've increased the amount this year that I've got under cover because the cold frames just worked so well last year. The obvious benefit, of course, is that you can keep on growing all the way through the winter, but the less obvious benefit is that everything just really springs to life in February and March time, and so you really do get a full extra season of growing, if not 2 extra seasons of growing out of them. And so they've been really amazing, and because the fact that the tops come off and store away so easily really makes them great. They face south, so they can be opened up onto the vented setting and get full sun even early in the year. So I've added 1, 2, 3 extra cold frames this year, and I think I'll leave it now. It's nice to have a few beds that are completely open, but I am going to convert one of these strawberry beds to a covered bed, so I get some early strawberries. So let's just have a quick look around and see what's worked and what hasn't worked. These brassicas have worked fantastically well. Broccoli is definitely my favourite of the brassicas on this plot, and the courgettes are the favourite on Jenny's plot. I just love the broccoli because we eat the leaves, and of course we eat the flowers, so that's been great. Spring onions have been fabulous. I just can't seem to grow enough spring onions. These obviously are looking a bit straggly because they've just gone over winter, but yeah, spring onions, just grow huge quantities of those. This frame's been fantastic, although we just don't need that number of beans. So this year I'm changing it around, and I'm going to be growing as many vertical plants as I can think of on here. So lots of tomatoes, cucumbers, cucamelons, Mallory spinach, probably about 8 or 9 different types, peas, of vertical veg. I will still grow a few French beans and runner beans on here to complement the beans that we've got in the other plots. But I just want, I think it'd be great, just like a little food forest. And so it's very heavily mulched with compost, and so I'm really excited to see how that goes. Fruit's been fantastic. I've got loads of raspberries down here, gooseberries all the way around the outside, and because Debbie's got so many blackcurrants on hers, I've taken my blackcurrants up, which were here, and I've put in a second hotbed, and so this is going to be filled in 2 weeks' time, mid-January, and yeah, it just turns February into May, and I'll be growing absolutely everything nice and early. And then not far behind the hotbeds really will be all the whole frames. Some of them will just be left with what's in them at the moment. So for example, these 2 hoop tunnels have got spinach in them at the moment, and that will just spring to life in February. Most of the others have got some type of salad or other in them. Some of those will be cleared, and in will go early carrots, early beetroot, early spring onions, and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's just a really exciting time of year, especially on a sunny day like today. You can really see the potential. Everything's almost ready to go. What else worked? So the winter miner's lettuce has been fantastic. The carrots have been great. The leeks have been okay, but I planted those a little bit too early, so a few of them ran to seed. All the salads have been fantastic, although I did get some caterpillars on some of them, so I'll be putting some netting over them this year. And spinach was amazing. New Zealand spinach was the highlight of the year, absolutely fabulous. Looking forward to taking a few asparagus this year, although most of those will be next year. Parsnips did pretty well, quite pleased with those. Some things got a little bit too much nitrogen because I was doing an experiment with seaweed extract, and so that carrot bed was a bit too over nitrogened, and this hoop tunnel, which had my sweet potatoes in it, again got too much nitrogen, too much top growth, not only a couple of kilos of tubers. So looking forward to improving on that this year. Strawberries did really well. Yeah, pretty much. Chard and leaf beet and all of that sort of thing, that's also done really nicely. So I'm pretty pleased really with the way that it's gone on my plot. The only thing is, because I was doing so much work on Jenny's plot and Debbie's plot, I did neglect this plot a little bit, and so I ended up with too much bare earth at some times of the year, and I didn't really manage my successions quite as well as I could have done. So we sort of ran out of peas. We actually were short on lettuces in August, but other than that it went pretty well. So what have I learned? Any lessons to pass on? Basically, I'm growing as many red things as I can because the slugs don't like red stuff, so red lettuces, I'll definitely be growing more of those. I'm trying to think. Guardsman spring onions rather than white Lisbon. They seem to stand tall a lot better, which makes them much easier to pick and clean, and they taste just as well. I like leaving the guardsman in a little bit longer as well, so I get a bigger bulb. yeah, so that's been really good. And I'm kind of running out of suggestions. Oh yeah, one more thing. Lots of people have commented on how much lettuce I have planted in the autumn, and I've been saying, well, I think I need that much lettuce in order to have enough in winter, and that has definitely proved to be the case. So I think I've got 4 of these cold frames full of salad leaves, and now in January that's just enough for a daily harvest. So I was right. And it means a massive glut of salad in autumn, but yeah, that's what's needed in order to have just enough in winter. So I think with that, since this has been a long video, I will draw this to a close. Just remains to wish everybody a happy new year and happy gardening, and I hope everybody's excited as me about getting started in February. Well, I'm actually getting started in January because of the hotbeds, but most people probably will be starting in February, and it's a very exciting time. So, Happy New Year, see you soon.